Computer loading sequence.
Sound of pouring a drink.
All right. Well,
hello.
Welcome back to Above the Normal podcast.
Yeah, welcome back to the new.
We've been gone a while.
We've been gone a minute, you know what I mean?
As always, I am Krystiena Kurtz.
I am David Umbach.
Of Elgin Paranormal.
Hello.
So, we have got an interesting episode for you guys.
Seeing that we're in weird times, figured we should get back to weird times, you know what I mean? I guess this constitutes something like that. Seeing that, what's going on in the world, why not kind of lose yourself in something different or explore something, go down the rabbit hole with us. Or
who knows, maybe something different in the rabbit hole could end up leading to something going on today.
Could be. But that's for a later podcast. Woo! That's for a later podcast.
A later podcast, but I'll be throwing my 2 cents in by the end.
Right.
So, anyway, I guess we're going to get started right away on
Mothman. I wonder how many of you guys are familiar. I'm sure a lot of you are. I'm sure a lot of people out there have went down this rabbit hole. And
this rabbit hole's been around for a long time.
Oh, yeah. It's been along for, since 1960?
But like you said, there's also historic stuff that pertains to possibly being Mothman.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff you could get into. If we were to talk about everything that has to do with Mothman, we would be here for one podcast.
The podcast would run way too long.
1 month of podcast.
So this is gonna be like a sweet and condensed version, but definitely gonna link a show or a documentary I watched earlier today called The Curse of the Mothman Legacies or something like that.
No, it was Dark Wings.
Dark Wings, that's what it was. Researching too much. 2009, I think it was produced and featured, but it's hard to find. I was doing a little digging on the internet and found it on Roku TV for free. So I'll put that link down in the description if anybody's interested in watching. It's like an hour and 7 minutes long. It's very, very, I'd say, out of all the Mothman documentaries I've seen like a fucking shit ton of them.
Oh, God, yeah.
Never
seen that one.
This one's definitely probably, if you're someone that is interested in Mothman, I know a lot of people listening right now are probably not interested in Mothman, but we're just touching on this subject right now. Like I said, this is just the first podcast back.
Well, we'll get into more of why we're touching on Mothman and future endeavors with the future of our paranormal excursion.
Right.
We'll get to that in a little while.
Right. But now,
first,
might as well start off with something that a lot of people do know about.
So, David's going to brush you up a little bit on the history of Mothman, since we don't have like a month for one episode.
Right. Well, it's all about Point Pleasant, West Virginia. This is where this cryptid, or whatever you want to call them, I don't know, a bird, people will call them a moth, an owl.
I don't know about moth. I don't even
No, but yeah, but most. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they never. That's another thing. They never get into why they call him Mothman. Like they just kind of that's just kind of the coined term for what.
There's also other names of other creatures that resemble.
Right. Oh yeah, there's cryptoids all over the place.
But anyway, the gist of it.
The gist of it is, a lot of people.
You all know about Point Pleasant.
Point Pleasant. Most people do. Well, if you follow Mothman, you know what Point Pleasant, West Virginia, what it stands for, and what happened. The story goes back in before 1967, the Silver Bridge collapse. So, a lot of people believe this person or thing, whatever you want to call it, Mothman or whatever, is a harbinger of doom. Something like that, kind of like how the crow is in the Bible, I think. I think the crow is like, you see crows and it's kind of like it's like a harbinger of death. So a lot of people believe that, of course, relating that to, this crazy, bridge collapse that killed like 46 people, and it was just insane. It was a huge tragedy.
It was a huge tragedy, especially.
Yeah,
for
it took them 10 years to rebuild the bridge. 10 years, and people had to drive. What he was saying is people had to drive now, so instead of going right over to the next town or next state right over the bridge, people had to take a 20-minute detour to go around another bridge to get to Point Pleasant.
Well, to get back and forth, Ohio to Point Pleasant.
Yeah, so it's just that's just something that nobody ever talks about. It's like you think like, oh my god, another 20 minutes to get to work if you're like in that area. You know what I mean? That's crazy. But that's just some knowledge that no one ever touches on how it affected everyday lives or everyday people. You know what I mean?
And just how many sightings of Mothman led up to.
Right.
Not to mention the UFOs.
Right. That's a lot.
There were a ton of UFO sightings.
Yeah, that's a lot of things that no one ever touches on with this story. Like,
a lot of Mothman sightings are with UFO sightings.
Right. Like,
they coincide.
Yeah, there's a lot of UFO sightings leading up to the time of all of this, and sightings right after it, days after. Like, so is he a lost alien? Is he, what is he?
Some kind of big bird.
Well, people think he's a bird because, I don't know, because he flies and all that. But a lot of people equate him to a bat, like a membrane. Like when you hear people describe him, like, where is something right here? It says 6 to 10 feet tall. Maybe, I don't know, maybe with his wings in the back of him, he looks taller. But there's been a lot of like different
6 to 10 feet
6,
tall.
8 feet, 9 feet, red eyes, orange eyes, green eyes.
The most you hear about, though, that I've noticed is the red eyes.
Yeah, that's the most common thing. A lot of people think, oh my God, it's a demon. That's the first thing. Religious people, won't get into that. But whatever you believe, people believe this is like a demon character. Something that's evil. It's bringing death among everyone. Or it's here and it's flying around. But
it's never really been proven to be bringing death. It's just been cited up before a tragedy.
Yeah.
That's the whole myth behind it.
And now there's like reports in many different areas of a moth type figure. Like, we live in the Chicagoland area, and just recently there's been a lot of uptick, like around O'Hare Airport, of people seeing this creature. I mean, I'm talking probably in the last year, probably 5 to 10 sightings, I would say.
Who even knows? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of sightings that could have never been reported. Because people think,
you're crazy.
They're going to think they're crazy. Right. So who knows about that? But, I mean, if you look at it, there's also been a lot of UFO sightings along with these Mothman sightings that have taken place in Chicago and around Chicagoland area.
And like I said, if you're interested in watching that documentary, I will link it definitely in the description below. It's free, something to watch, and it's probably one of the most definitive Mothman documentaries I've ever seen. Yeah. It's probably the most in-depth with stuff that you've never, even if you have followed the story of the Mothman, even the movie that was inspired from the actual book from John Keel, he was investigated back in 64, 63, 67 when the bridge collapsed. He wrote, a book about all the eyewitness testimony. There was over 100 people. So this is something that just wasn't like, one person called, a handful of people messing around, kids, stuff like that. There's actual, over 100 people seeing and hearing and, having visions of him coming to them, stuff like that.
So on the topic of Chicago Mothman sightings.
Right.
Let's discuss how we have some, files that go back from, you got November of 2019?
Mm-hmm. And as recently as February of 2020 in all places.
May 31st of 2020.
Well, yeah.
May 31st of 2020.
Well, I'm talking like an actual face-to-face encounter. The one in May, I think, is like seeing it flying or something like that.
Yeah.
So, like, the closest one that's closest to us, actually, is one that took place in Woodstock, Illinois. I don't know if many people are familiar with Illinois, but where we live, that's like a...
Well, we're in the northern
That's probably like a
Illinois.
30 minute drive from us.
Northern Illinois.
That's the most recent, like, actual sighting, or face-to-face sighting. So this individual said, so at first he thought it could have been a Bigfoot. So at first he thought he was witnessing a fucking Bigfoot encounter. So that's how the story goes. So he's like, oh shit, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, what is this thing standing, 20 feet away from me, looking at me? It's like, 8 to 9 feet tall, But
the red eyes? Was that in the description?
Yeah. But he kind of like, at first he thought it was like, like real quick, like, oh my God, is this a Bigfoot? Like, what am I witnessing? But sooner or later, and right seconds later, he saw like the wings. So he almost like the membranes of like leathery wings. Like he equated it to like a gargoyle. So that's kind of like what I envision. Like I've seen footage, which we'll post, of a really good, I don't know what the hell it looks like. It looks like a dragon or some shit. I mean, this footage is pretty, and it's where is it? Where else do you think it's at? Chicago. So it's in this area. So like, this was on national television.
Getting into that, it's just interesting that
it's very interesting.
It's always by O'Hare.
Always by O'Hare.
Always cargo area.
Yeah, people like loading planes.
Or loading trucks, or in their backyards.
Right.
There's a story of a woman that was in her backyard that actually saw it.
Mm-hmm. Someone even claimed that even ate their German Shepherd or something. There's a story floating around with that, so I don't know what that's all about, but that's nothing that's proven, or that's just, whatever. I mean, this is more like people coming forward, recently about like, oh my God, I'm standing there driving the car and I see this person standing in like 30 feet away from me. Like I thought he was taking a piss or something, and all of a sudden, because it's always by a riverbed or a bankment of water.
Yeah, see, nobody knows this date. Nobody knows the date of when this happened.
Right.
This is an unknown date, but supposedly this woman was in her backyard in Berwyn, which is just outside of Cicero. Just outside of Cicero, cleaning up from a picnic. She was alone. It was about 9-10 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. It was partly cloudy, she said, and she looked up into the sky. The moon was visible. She was looking up at the moon. And her backyard was just lit up with torches, like tiki torches, mm-hmm. Summertime.
Right.
Giant, ball lights that light up. Mm-hmm. She sees 4 giant people that look like men.
Okay.
All black, giant wings. Describes the wings looking like bat wings, or like
gargoyle wings.
Very demonic looking is what she described it as.
Right.
4 in a row, flying like they were standing up horizontally.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So horizontal, like, what do you see flying like?
Horizontally, like going up. And then there's also claims.
Very muscular.
Well, there's also claims of like this thing, when it flies, but it really doesn't flap its wings. So it's kind of like people are like, or scientists are like, well, how does it not gain any kind of speed, or like, or you know what I mean? Like, how does it just glide, So there's some reports of that, but that's mostly back in the 60s, like 1965, 1966, where it was chasing a couple in a car. Like back then, they took out their Cadillac or whatever, showboating. He was in high school, his girlfriend, doing whatever, probably making out or whatever the fuck. And they're, driving where this power plant is always in the town, where a lot of people have seen it there, by a power plant. They'll pull up. There's a story about a guy pulling up, and then with his buddy, and all of a sudden there's like a 4 stories up, you see these red eyes staring at him, like looking right through him. That was in the documentary. And they went inside, and then they saw this creature.
We got another November 8th, 2009 teen.
Right.
There was a man driving home on North Ontucket Road. And as he was approaching an intersection, saw something crossing the road. Thought it was a deer until it stopped in the middle of the road and stared at him straight on.
So that's how it all started.
Of course, slammed on his brakes, witnessed it spread what looked to be wings. It screeched very loud, and then bounded towards the woods.
So it like darted towards the woods?
Yes.
Okay.
So what the man described was, it looked like a 7-foot man, very thin, 2 very large illuminated red eyes. He said the car lights were on it, and it was extremely black with skin, no feathers.
Okay, so there's conflicting reports on different ones.
And then he was just terrified, hit the accelerator, and took off for home.
So it's like, oh, what did I just see?
Yeah, pretty much like a what the fuck moment.
Yeah, what the fuck moment. I mean, how many of you have one of those moments where you're driving and you see something or see something fly through the sky or whatever? I mean, I got stories of crazy shit like that.
Well, before we get to that, I'm just going to go over the most recent that we've heard. So, this is a pilot at O'Hare. This is also at O'Hare, but this is an actual pilot.
This is a pilot.
Him and a co-pilot saw a large black human-like creature fly up and into the sky. At approximately 7:30 a.m., which is interesting because this is morning time. Usually a lot of the reports are like dusk, nighttime.
Right.
And this was just off runway 28R, Terminal 2. And this was May 31st of 2020. He also said he radioed it into the air traffic control center, and they documented it. He wants to remain anonymous, of course.
Of course.
But
well, he's a pilot, so yeah, of course.
That is a very interesting thing.
When pilots come forward.
Especially a co-pilot with him.
Especially when they're told never divulge any kind of paranormal phenomenon. And that's fact. That's a fact.
And again, the wings were straight out in glide configuration.
Glide, yeah. Once again, non-flapping wings. With that kind of weight, I mean, I don't know. I don't even know speculated weight of it.
On a note of actually witnessing anything that could be at all. Because this is actually the last... I mean, if anybody out there, you guys know how to get a hold of us on our Facebook page, Elgin Paranormal. Please let us know. I mean, if you've had any sightings, especially people in the Chicagoland area, Illinois in general.
Even out in northern Illinois, wherever.
Anywhere. Let us know if you've ever had a sighting of Mothman or something that you think could have possibly been Mothman.
A lot of urban legends around these areas.
I mean, our small little questionable moment was back in probably 2013.
Right. Way back.
Driving home from a friend's house that was out in actually.
I think it was Montgomery, Illinois. Aurora-ish.
It was like in between there, Montgomery, Aurora-ish.
Very rural, very like the area that he was in was like in the middle of a field.
It was probably about 3 a.m.
Right.
And we were leaving. We were going home, and as we turned out onto the main country road, I should say, because it was pretty much country at that point.
Yeah, it was like sporadic, like trees and rolling hills, and then there was like a fucking mall with shit. Like not a mall, but I mean like a strip center or like a fucking Staples and shit.
But anyway,
it was weird.
As we turned onto the main country road, it was like something flew over the car.
Yeah.
But I couldn't make out what it looked like. Just a large wingspan. Very
large wingspan, at least 12 to 15 feet. It was way bigger than the car.
It was huge.
But it was like you're driving and it's pitch black outside, like pitch black with no lights on the road.
Just your headlights.
And
it's 3 a.m., so there's really nobody around.
Yeah, and you're on a country road with like trees and rolling hills.
But I mean, this was pretty close to the top of the car, and it just went.
Like I looked up.
We're going straight, and it just kind of glided over, going right past us.
Right. I looked up because I thought I saw like hooked, like like 3-pronged feet, like like the.
I can't say I saw that.
Like that humanoid figure like had or whatever, whenever it's pictured, it always has like those owl feet.
I know I saw wing and was like, what?
Right.
That's how fast it was.
I mean, people can pass it off as some huge bird, which which probably a lot of times is, but I mean,
this wingspan.
When you witness something like that real fast, and the thing, like, it kind of startles
radioactive,
you. Like this thing, like there's always what is that thing called, Thunderbird or whatever? There's another.
No, don't get me started.
Well, that's Thunderbird, not Terrorbird, but
always makes me ridiculous.
But people could equate like the sightings on big animals, but let me tell you, if you've never witnessed that and you're driving in the middle of nowhere and this thing just all of a sudden you look up and you see right over like a movie, you know how it's cheesy to say, but it's like, what the fuck was that? What the fuck was that?
It is to tell what it is and how big it is unless it's standing directly in front of
you. Right. Like when people say I'm standing in front of it and it's standing up, well, that's a completely different story. This is just like you witness something fly over the car and it's huge. So you're just like, well, it could be whatever. But I mean, I could imagine, you know, people's minds going like, well, like freak out.
What did I see?
I mean, we're still talking about it to this day too. So it's just like, it's one of those aha moments of like, whoa, I can see how stories can easily, you know, happen or equate like these things to anything, you know?
Yeah.
Like totally. I mean, you got to give that credit, you know, you got to put that in the realm too. You got to be, you know, you got to have logic and reason also. You got to be like, well, what's in this area? Is there big bald eagle? Like, is there huge, like, animals around that could be this size? Like, or is it rare? Or other people say anything about it? You know, of course, you know, back then we never researched that.
Let's get into the theorizing about, let's bring it to today.
Bring it to today.
Let's bring it to today before we kind of move into our little second topic here.
Right.
With all of the stuff that has been ramping up.
Right.
I mean, we all know it's all over the world. I mean, especially
Mothman, has been sighted.
No, I'm saying
all over the world.
I'm just saying, period.
Right.
We've all been in this. We all know what's going on in the world. We know that, you know, with COVID and
whatever.
Everything that's happening.
Whatever your view is.
There's been a lot of ramping up in Chicago.
Right.
And with all the Mothman sightings up until this point. And the UFO sightings up until this point.
Right.
What do we think about that?
Right. Let us know. Like, what do you think about that? Do you see more and more things happening because everybody's more self-aware?
Do you
probably
think that it could have something to do with it? Do you think something is coming, or something bigger coming,
right.
Or how bad will it get?
Are these Mothman sightings like they think in Point Pleasant, like a harbinger of doom?
Yeah, is it a warning?
Look at Chicago. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Need I say more?
So that's something to think about. I mean, question what's going on and put it to the paranormal.
You know,
very questionable.
It's interesting to say the least. If you're into that, you know, if you pay attention to that, because I know if you do pay attention to that, then you would know what kind of lane we're in with it.
Well, we bring that up because, as you all know, we haven't been on for a long time. Mm-hmm. We haven't really, I mean, in today's world, too, you don't really get to do investigations in anybody's private homes.
That kind of halted that.
Nobody wants you in their house now. It's kind of hard with that with businesses, too, because we got a lot of calls for, you know, private homes, businesses.
Right.
We've done a few areas that were public, like Morse Mill Hotel.
Well, I mean, it's not public.
Morse Mill Hotel wasn't public.
Well, I mean,
they did have
public in the
ghost
sense,
hunts after we did investigate it.
Right.
But
it was featured on after we were there. If anybody remembers, Ghost Hunters, they investigated the Morris Mill right after we did.
But on a note of that, EPI, Elgin Paranormal Investigators, has always really focused. I mean, well, not individually, but as a team, we always focused on ghosts.
Yeah.
I mean, each individual one of us has, you know, we've delved deeper into. I mean, you and me have delved deeper into everything.
Right.
Conspiracies.
Everything on the table.
Cryptozoology, ufology.
If there's something out there, I'll research it.
multiverse.
I'll research it.
So, as you all know, 3 years ago, we lost our founder, Greg Stout. And pretty much, there's only 3 of us left of EPI.
Well, I mean...
holding it together.
Active, anyway.
We're kind of moving in a direction here.
Yeah.
We're bringing our endeavors to 2020.
Right. Or just opening the library.
We're also thinking we're moving into a new name.
Mm-hmm.
Which we're going to bring up, which is the old IPJRI.
That I always mess up.
Which we're going to be slowly transitioning into. We will still be known as the former Elgin Paranormal Investigators.
Right.
We'll always have that under our
belts. Or
that's where the most experience we ever came from in the field came from.
Right.
But we're going to be moving on to becoming Illinois Paranormal Journalists Research and Investigation.
There you go.
We're going to cover journalism. We're going to cover the research, the investigations. We're going to cover all aspects of the paranormal.
All aspects.
All aspects of the paranormal. Not just ghosts.
You name it.
You name it, yeah.
We're down for everything. If you're down for everything, we're definitely been digging for years into that.
And though I said I'm going to upload, too, a lot of our old episodes from Elgin Paranormal Investigators from back in 2007 through 2008-9.
Tons of footage of... got tons of footage of paranormal happenings, trust me.
That's not even the arsenal of all the discs of all the footage of all the hours. But these are just like 30-40 minute episodes of like investigations we went on to homeowners' places. And I guess we could upload those because you guys have never really seen them. You've seen like little clips of stuff.
Right, or just things that we've caught, whatever, just, whatever. I mean...
But we are going to be moving... We'll be uploading those to the Elgin Paranormal page if I can get in it.
Yeah. Do you remember the password? No.
Yeah, if I can get in that one. But if I can't...
threw that in the garbage.
We'll figure it out. But...
Anyway.
We are going to be creating a new YouTube for our podcast Above the Normal. And I also want to start creating a new YouTube for... Illinois Paranormal Journalists Research and Investigations.
Above the Normal podcasting, different areas. Going to see it everywhere. Whatever you can put it, for free.
So we hope you guys stay with us.
Right.
Whoever's been with us since the beginning.
Whoever wants to hear us blabber on about stuff. Anybody's interested in anything,
I'm sure we'll get to a point in the podcast where we can maybe have some special guests on.
Or have people on and talk. Hell, we could even do it live. Who knows? I'm just saying, this is just something that we're moving towards.
We're moving with, yeah. Gotta get the first podcast rolling.
Right.
On a serious tone.
Right. And on a Mothman kick, we thought this would be the icebreaker of just, like I said, I know a lot of people know Mothman. It's just something easy, something that everybody knows. I mean... The festival's been going on for like 20 years.
Well, here, I'm going to give you guys a little, I can't get to it now. I'm going to use my phone here and dig it out.
But, yeah.
The information that I got, all of the recent sightings for Mothman in Chicago, came from a man named Andy Avari. It's a 6-year-old YouTube video, but...
Right.
Let's see here. I need to find the name of that, and I'll have to post it in descriptions. Right. But anyway, I got that. That's where the source for that was.
And I'll post the link to that Mothman documentary, which is definitely, if you're into Mothman, definitely check it out.
It's called Dark Wings, The Mothman Chronicles.
Mm-hmm.
We'll leave a link for that in the description.
Because these documentaries, are hard to find. They're like diamonds in the rough, and when you find one, share with everybody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can make somebody's night, you know what I mean?
Well, it's information.
Right, it's just information. And this, like I said, this is the most in-depth information that this person has dug up for like an think he shot this over the course of like almost 4 years. So it's pretty in depth. I mean, he goes to like timelines, UFO sightings, correlating, and like people's personal raw testimony. So I mean, it's really good. It's really good. So if you're into Mothman, that's if you're into Mothman, like I said. You know,
and we found out about that through another YouTube video, which was recommended to us by Nick. Thanks, Nick, if you're listening.
Right, that was a good one, man. That was a good one.
So
we'll be posting those in the links.
We'll be posting all the links to all the videos.
YouTube videos and the documentary.
Yeah.
So
we'll be posting those in the description.
You'll have more than enough Mothman information to digest.
Mm-hmm.
If you have nothing to do and you're like, what's on? Well,
and on the on the end of the Mothman topic, please send in any stories you have.
I want this to be also a community page where people can post stories, and you know, like I said, you know, have you on.
Post or give us send us, mail it, message it, send it, comment it,
whatever it may be, whatever rabbit hole you want to go down next, we'll go with you.
You can get a hold of me at Krystiena Kurtz on Facebook or Instagram,
right.
Krystiena X.
Yeah.
You can get a hold of Dave on Facebook at Dave Umbach.
Right. Yeah, I'm easy to find.
Also, stay tuned with us, because as always, we are always legit. We don't like.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sit
stuff.
here and lie to you.
We're out there looking for 100% the truth.
Right. And once the truth is still, you know, out there, as they say, pulling from an X-Files quote.
But we are going to stay independent. We are not looking to, I mean, I have a problem with those shows.
You know, no frills, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people are into the drama aspect.
We don't like the drama. We like the hard facts.
Yeah, I want the hard facts to know what you're dealing with, you know.
And an open mind. Yeah. Hard facts, open mind.
Detective work, you know. People like those ID TV. Well, why not the paranormal version? You know, keep it real.
Keep it raw and keep it real.
That's right.
That's the way you find the truth.
That's right.
And you gotta dig through all of the crap. That's in the way.
All the bullshit.
Oh, let me ask you guys a question. Here's a good one. Has anybody watched the show Project Blue Book? And I want you to go and do a little research if you want to. Go ahead and type in and look for real files on the real Project Blue Book, and tell me how much harder it is to find now with all of the stuff floating around about the TV show Project Blue Book.
Right.
Because I have noticed that they seem to be hiding.
Seems like they bury this stuff.
The truth is always buried.
Especially when the military just came out with stuff, so all of a sudden, like... Yeah.
And also, keep up on our page. We post, like, stories, interesting stories, weird stories, paranormal stories.
You know, like, not every podcast or everything is for everybody, you know? We're just trying to touch on things and be as real as possible, or be absolutely real as possible. You know, what's out there. You know, this is what we have, this is what we know, and this is what we give you, you know? We're not going to tell you any different. You can make the decision if you believe it or not.
Yep.
You know, because the only person that will believe it is you. You know what I mean? If you have contact with
It doesn't matter as much video footage you have, as much audio footage you have. It doesn't matter as many photographs you take.
Yep.
The only person that you really
are trying
really
to convince
you is
yourself. You know what I mean? You're trying to convince yourself of what's going on. You know, we're in the same boat. We're just talking about it. You know, we're just using avenues just to talk about it. Exactly. Find other people that are, you know, that
are into
it. You know, or just
really into it,
or just listening. Like, you know, okay, well, let me check that out. You know, let me go investigate. You know, talk to these people.
We're also into talking to
journalism.
Other investigators out there. If you're a paranormal team, if you're in the area or not, we're interested in hearing from you.
Yeah, I want to hear your stories.
Let us know, like, your stories.
Yeah, we'll post it on our
thoughts.
page. You know, help everybody out in the community. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's more of a community. We need to stick together to find the truth instead of dividing and finding crap.
Right. Instead of wading through all the BS. You know, like as a life.
So on that note,
thanks for tuning in.
Thanks. It was our first run.
It's our first run.
In a long
It's probably
time.
shaky as hell, but you know, hey, we gave it a go, right?
It's a long way from Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah, those days. Blog Talk Radio.
So, everybody have a great night, and send in your Mothman sightings or stories or anything else you want.
as the old adage goes, further without fear.
We're probably going to be doing these podcasts bi-weekly. We're thinking bi-weekly. See how it goes.
Right.
Also, if you guys want us to cover any stories too, send us in ideas.
Definitely. Like, I welcome information.
We're up for anything.
I want information.
If you want us to cover something, let us know.
Right. I'll research it to death. People will be bored with it, but I'll still be looking at it.
All right, guys.
All right.
Take care. Have a lovely rest of your Tuesday night, and we'll catch you later.
Later. Or I should say, Wednesday afternoon.
Adios.
Adios.